JD Vance's humiliation tour is in full swing. It is absolutely delicious. Last night, he was supposed to appear with Erika Kirk at a Turning Point event. He showed up. Erika Kirk did not. And about 20 people showed up to a massive arena. Watch this humiliating clip of the audience size.
It doesn't bother me.
For those of you listening, I'm talking tens of people, not hundreds, tens, couple dozen people, and it is just empty seat after empty seat. Nobody likes JD Vance. I mean, nobody. So I am really proud of our movement that we have been doing reputational damage to JD Vance with an assist from his boss, Donald Trump, who is rat fucking him every chance he can get, sending him over to campaign for loser Viktor Orban, sending him to go sit with Erika Kirk. When Erika Kirk no-shows you after she practically dry humped you at the last Turning Point event, this is humiliating, Pumps.
And the thing about it is the audience, the very small audience that was there, just went right back at him. I mean, they were not happy with him at all. And here's the thing about JD Vance. It is hard for me to take anything he says seriously because he flip-flops on everything. It's just, you have said it. I believe it's true. He is a prostitute. Whatever you tell him to say, he will say it. He doesn't give a fuck if he believes it or not.
So Erika Kirk took to Twitter right before she no-showed last night. I think it was right before. It could have been right after. Pop this up. She says, I was so looking forward to tonight's event at the University of Georgia with our vice president at JD Vance. But after all our family has been through, I take my security team's recommendations extremely seriously. Thank you to our amazing Georgia chapter, all 12 of you, for your support. God bless you all. And so here's the thing about her no-showing. At first I was like, oh yeah, security threats. Like her husband was gunned down and her husband should be alive. Erika Kirk should be on a gun violence tour trying to help enact laws that make it less likely for people to take weapons to universities, but she's not doing any of that. Candace Owens, who, I have a problem sometimes platforming, but when they are doing our dirty work for us and calling out the grifting, lying sacks of shit on the right that are trying to drive women into dangerous situations, that are driving men into toxic masculinity, that are driving the country into fascism, I say let's platform away. Candace snaps back at Erika Kirk and says, stop. This is exhausting. You pulled out because of bad ticket sales. For the same reason TP Faith had to reschedule the Pastor Summit and various other events quietly. People don't believe you and don't line up for you because you struggle to tell the truth. And about even the most basic facts, where is the video of Charlie appointing you as CEO weeks before his death? The Secret Service sits above your security team. Were there actually a viable threat, the vice president would not have continued the event. Your closest threat is the shit public relations team you hired that continues to operate under the delusion that they are smarter than the public. They aren't. And I have to say, Candace Owens' point that if there were really viable, dangerous threats, JD Vance wouldn't be there unless, of course, Trump is just really rat fucking him, which at this stage in the fascist takeover, anything is possible with this regime. Pumps.
I thought it was interesting during the course of this event, JD Vance was asked about Erika Kirk and his relationship, and he was so defensive. It was unbelievable how defensive he was. So me, who thought that was all a conspiracy, then I'm like, but if you're trying to tell me that they're going to prioritize security for Erika Kirk over JD Vance, just like shut the fuck up. Nobody believes that. Stop. And I also find it interesting that this trad wife, the one who wants everybody to stay home and make babies, when she said, I'm not coming, nothing about her kid. Like, I'm staying home with my kids because I'm a trad wife and I shouldn't have a job. It's just, there's a security threat. Bullshit. I call bullshit. And I hate to agree with Candace Owens, but I do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any question. She no-showed because Turning Point is a toxic experiment at this point where they are trying to ride on this and exploit a horrific murder of its founder, who was a racist and a horrible person. But he could draw the crowds, kind of like Trump can draw the crowds. JD Vance cannot draw the crowds. Erika Kirk, who has been doing pyrotechnic funerals, dry humping JD Vance at the last Turning Point event, just acting like a complete nut. And listen, grief is weird. Grief is jagged. This is something beyond that. What we're all witnessing with Erika Kirk and her desire to carry water for the patriarchy, it's just this whole shtick is over with. And even when Candace Owens is calling you out consistently and Candace Owens is making sense, then you have some serious problems. Now, JD Vance was confronted during his speech over Gaza. The protester yells, "You're killing children." Play the clip.
I want to complain about what happened in Gaza. So if you want, sir, to complain about what happened in Gaza, why don't you complain about Joe Biden and the last administration? We're the administration that solved that problem. And by the way, not only was our administration like the administration that solved the problem, but the president. Excuse me, sir. Right now, you see more humanitarian aid coming into Gaza than it has any time.
I've heard enough. JD Vance is a complete liar. He's lying and gaslighting right there. The part that is true is that Joe Biden's administration oversaw a lot of this. And there is an effort that needs to take place with the Democratic Party that completely says it. The Biden administration funded the genocide in Palestine. The Trump administration has made it a million times worse because now we have the exact same thing happening in Lebanon. It is horrific. 1 million people displaced, 300 people killed in 10 minutes, white phosphorus. And this prick, JD Vance, has the audacity to write a book about his journey to Catholic faith and all of this shit. Meanwhile, he's fighting with the actual Pope who's saying, we don't want wars. Jesus would not like wars. And little smoky eye sociopath is like, well, I think the Pope needs to stick with moral issues. And it's just JD Vance's career, you guys, as beautiful as this faceplant is, we have to keep the pressure on him and do massive reputational damage. Any heir apparent of this fascist regime needs to have reputational damage hurled upon them because they deserve it. And remember that JD Vance has been bought and paid for by the tech oligarchs, the actual tech oligarchs who are taking your jobs, not immigrants. JD Vance has no problem scapegoating immigrants when his wife comes from a family of immigrants. His kids are mixed race. He has no problem scapegoating his own flesh and blood. He has no problem supporting the Kavanaugh rule, which means that ICE agents can pull you over based on the color of your skin. He's a prostitute. He is a liar. He is diabolical. He wears eyeliner to varying different degrees. And allegedly, according to Elon Musk's free speech website, he fucks couches. So we need to keep the pressure on this motherfucker because he is absolutely horrible. And any notion that he thinks he is going to be the heir apparent of this movement, I'm tickled pink that there is bipartisan support to completely make sure that his dreams of being president will never be realized.
I completely agree. And I find it absolutely stunning that a newly converted Catholic arguing with the Pope and says the Pope should stick to moral issues, warehousing people, killing people, that is a moral issue. If you do not have a problem with people going to school and being bombed or going out to fish and being bombed, that is a moral issue, JD Vance. You are not the moral authority. Like, do not try to parse words about morality when you work for an adjudicated rapist. Like, shut the fuck up.
Okay. Speaking of freaks, Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller is really the guy who is pulling a lot of the strings of this MAGA regime. They refer to him in the White House as Mr. Prime Minister. And there's new reporting from the New York Times telling us more about how Vance is working with Prime Minister Stephen Miller with this whole fraud thing. Remember, Trump took to his ridiculous social media platform and said that he was appointing JD Vance as the fraud czar. Well, this goes into my premise that Trump is ruling by divide and rule, making sure there's no clear successor. So he is rat fucking JD Vance every chance he can get, appointing him to fraud when the most fraudulent person on the global stage right now is Trump, is setting him up for absolute failure. And here's the thing about this. Stephen Miller has more power than anybody there. Stephen Miller is actually running the DOJ. Stephen Miller is running DHS. And Stephen Miller, to me, it looks like, is the boss of our little smoky eye sociopath. Play the clip.
Miller has a new focus when it comes to President Trump's immigration strategy. Recently, Miller joined Vice President Vance in Washington to hold an event to detail the administration's efforts to crack down on immigrants who were abusing public benefits and allegedly committing fraud.
The people at this table are all united in absolute determination to stop this plague of fraud, criminality, and abuse.
Miller has long tried to establish a link between immigrants and fraud, but there was a legitimate case of fraud in Minnesota that presented an ideal opportunity to ramp up these attacks. However, the Anti-Fraud Task Force is also just one piece of a much broader effort that Stephen Miller is pursuing to make the lives of immigrants without legal status so uncomfortable that they end up leaving the country voluntarily.
So this to me is a pretty interesting development because we all know that Trump is literally laser focused on his arch, on his ballroom, on any, chatty Cathy at night, calling random reporters, bullshitting, the war's over, we won it, all this crazy shit. So he keeps trotting out JD Vance for positions in government that are absolute losers. Viktor Orban, loser. This fraud stuff, loser. Going around and dry humping with Erika Kirk on the Turning Point stage, such a loser that Erika Kirk doesn't even show up. Stephen Miller has the most negative favorables of anybody in the United States of America. I think he's even less favorable than Elon Musk. We can fact check that. If not, we need to do some work to make sure they're tied. But Stephen Miller is a Nazi. This is a man who is a racist to his core, and he wants to deport 100 million Americans. And his number one strategy is that of scapegoating. This is what Viktor Orban did in Hungary, and he just lost. And so I think the rat fucking of JD Vance with an assist from Stephen Miller is just something that is really going to set him up for absolute electoral plundering should he run in 2028. All right, listener, one of the most difficult things we ladies have to tackle every morning is the selection of the bra. Does it match with your blouse? Is the one that matches with your blouse uncomfortable? Well, this has tortured me for years and years. And now I have a solution for all of us because I have discovered Honey Love. Honey Love is an independent, female-founded brand, and all Honey Love products are intelligently designed by women who actually wear them. Listener, I have to tell you, I love their Cloud Embrace bra. It is a modern wireless t-shirt bra with a sturdy, lightly padded foam cups that feel like a cloud against your skin. Usually when I get home from filming all day, the first thing that comes off is my bra. Now that I've switched to Honeylove, I usually forget that I'm even wearing the bra. Honeylove products feature lingerie-inspired details that you'll want to show off and high-quality fabrics that feel like a dream against the skin. So listeners, treat yourself to the most advanced bras and shapewear on the market. Use our exclusive link to save 20% off Honeylove at honeylove.com/IHIP. That's honeylove.com/IHIP. After you check out, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. Experience the new standard in comfort and support with Honeylove. Moving along, the Republicans continue to turn on the president. Here's Joe Rogan.
Created that Jesus meme that Trump just posted. That's AI God.
Joe, I told you, he explained it. He was a doctor.
That's what they call them. That's what AI God calls Jesus. Jesus is a doctor.
The mental gymnastics involved in some of these people who are so ideologically captured is shocking to me.
It's weird.
Okay, and here's Megyn Kelly on Trump.
He's doing. But the president is spiraling downward in his poll numbers. He is on a downward spiral now. And we'll talk about in a minute what's happening with the white working class. That's Trump's base. And he's now underwater with them. We saw one poll about 7 to 10 days ago showing it. And now there's another. There's no question. He's collapsed now with the white working class. My friends, that's it. Other than Fox News boomers, there's no one left.
So here's what I think. I think when you look at what happened in 2016, you had a situation where mainstream media and the Republican Party at large was like very anti-Trump. But you had this ecosystem that was very much moving towards Trump, changing the narrative, controlling the news cycle. Likewise, right now, you can see polling where the cult seems to be somewhat together, and you see like Tucker Carlson decreasing in popularity, or maybe Megyn Kelly, or you might go to her comment section. It's all this pro-Trump. But I would say this, when the ecosystem starts to move, that's the first fissure. Then the whole thing is really starting to fall apart. So I do think that we are in the puttering out of this cult, because these Rogan, Kelly, Tucker, they operate through financial Darwinism. They know that this guy is 80, has all sorts of mental problems, personality disorders, and physical failures right now, that cankles, all the stuff you've seen, that they need to move on. And they're not coalescing around anybody in particular yet, which makes me think Tucker's going to be the guy that is like, okay, I'm the guy. That's what worries me.
Yeah, it's absolutely scary to think about who's next, because Trump is he's so frazzled. He's worried about his projects. You get like a Russell Vought or a Brendan Carr, like these people are laser focused on fascism, authoritarianism, women being less than, LGBTQIA plus people being less than. So it's really scary to think who's coming. But I just look at Megyn Kelly and Joe Rogan, and I'm like, these are not people that live under rocks. They have access to the internet. They sit and talk all day. Why is this news? Like, they willfully picked Trump, knowing all the shit. Like, this is not like Trump fell off a cliff, cognitively, or crazy shit he says, or all this other stuff. Like, I vacillate between like, welcome to the resistance and you should have known.
No, they're not welcome to the resistance. These people are looking out for them. These are not people that want human rights for everybody. These are people that are riding the popularity wave within their customer base. They are financial Darwinists. They don't believe in fucking anything. When Trump was popular, they're all chips in on Trump. Trump is clearly falling off a cliff right now, so they are moving their base accordingly. There's no welcome to the resistance. I'm not going to play patty cake with these people. This is just, to me, highlights how stupid and how lacking in observational skills these people really are, particularly Joe Rogan, who's so mesmerized by anybody with wealth. It's really disgusting. And then Megyn Kelly recently, she's so all over the board, was like, Trump could nuke somebody and I'd still support him.
Right.
And now she's saying he's spiraling, he's collapsed. They're all over the place, these people. I just wanted to highlight that I think that them moving is a sign that the ecosystem that props up this cult is moving on, and they are going to form around some new leader, some new demagogue. And I'm very fearful it's going to be a Tucker Carlson. All right, that's all we have. Like and subscribe. We'll be back later with more news.